All right, we got a little bit of Reds talk. The Reds win their second series of the season out in Philly. We've got the Bengals hosting people for pre-draft visits. Looks like they're really invested in the trenches. We got a special guest host because Ron is, I think, at Disney World, probably chasing Mickey Mouse around, trying to get him to try garage beer. We've got that and more coming up next on Big Play Cincy.
Wow.
Welcome to Big Play Cincy. That's not Ron over there on the right side of your screen. That is our good friend from Enter the Jungle, Andrew Fox Miller, the man with the best camera quality in the Cincinnati media game that I always call him. So thank you for joining us tonight. Ron's doing something, and I think he's in Disney World. I know that he had Chad Johnson save the day for him today, so that's cool. He gets to brag about that. Spirit Airlines destroyed his wagon, and Ocho decided he was going to cash app him to cover the replacement costs on behalf
of the
airlines. So that's cool for him, I guess. I mean, it's crazy how the internet works. I guess Chad Johnson is a Spirit Airlines rep or something like that. So he just we'll take care of it. So good for him. We've got springtime now. So what springtime means is things are a little bit different on our show. We love garage beer. We love garage beer here. I just took off half Andrew's face, but it's all right because it's back. And you know what? Regular garage beer is over. It's now officially springtime. It doesn't feel like springtime outside, but it's lime garage beer season. Did not have it at my Kroger. I almost caused a riot, but it is at the Kroger for rich people, not too far from my house. So I picked up some there.
You're saying regular garage beer is out of season?
It is kind of out of season for me. It's a great warm beer if you're at the pool outside. Nothing better than mowing your grass and then admiring your work, sipping on a cold garage beer lime.
Okay, so I brought regular, first of all.
All right. It's great.
Second of all, I don't know, we'll throw beer into the mix of just culinary takes and opinions. Someone that doesn't eat cheese on Skyline, I mean, you're going to tell me how to enhance the flavor of beer?
That's a fair point. I've been getting ragged on about that for pretty much my entire life. So the whole cheese thing. So yeah, but I'm just saying we love garage beer. I've been friends with garage beer since before they were, we were on the Big Play Network. So it all just made too much sense when we all decided we were going to get together. So I suggest that I click the right button, and I suggest that you go out and pick up some garage beer. So give us a little bit of background about your guys' channel. I'm sure most people watching know, but just in case people don't know you, they're much smarter than us. I will preface it with that. And you can tell us a little bit more about your channel. This is a crossover episode. We are on the same network, so when one of us is out, it's good to have somebody to jump in to fill the void.
Yeah, so our show with Big Play, Enter the Jungle, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and through Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So if anyone watches Cincinnati Bengals Talk out there on YouTube, James Rapine and I, we started that channel, and really the very end of 2020, early 2021 is really when we started going into high gear with content there, and really haven't looked back. It was incredible how quickly people sort of embraced what we were doing. And it was me mostly here in this basement, just grinding away on editing and how to brand and make things look as good as possible. And then, like your intro for this show, that song, right? It's like people would come to me when they're like, well, we can't get AC/DC Back in Black to come on our show, but there's this guy in his basement editing things, and that's your intro song right there, is me, and for the longest time. So it's actually kind of cool to get up on camera and mess with James, be that other voice of reality. I love when people have that, in my opinion. I don't mind solo commentary by any means, but sometimes you need someone to just come in and go, wait a minute. And I feel like that's kind of the role I've been trying to serve. So yeah, love what we do. Love Big Play, the partnership that we've got with them. Love garage beer, the beer that we're drinking right now. And appreciate you having me on. Love the cross promotion here. So
yeah, absolutely. You guys are, 90% of our viewership comes from Twitter. We'll get a couple thousand people in here sometimes, and I'll look at the numbers and they're all on Twitter. And I appreciate that. That's cool. Watch how you can. But then I look at you guys on YouTube. I'm like, dude, they have mastered YouTube. You guys' YouTube presence is awesome. So shout out to you guys. I personally have learned a lot talking to you, watching what you guys do. I was a little bit put off by how big James's forearms were when I met him at St. Taddy's Day. That was actually the first time I met him in person. He was kind of flexing a little bit. But man, love to have you here. So I know you're not super big into the Reds, but I figure I'd talk a little bit about them before we get into the Bengals talk, because they've won their first 2 series of the season. They went out to Philly. First game, we had a Spencer Steer grand slam, which worked out very, very good for me, because I actually bet on a Spencer Steer home run that night. One of my lights just died, so I'm not going to look as crisp. One of my lights just died. I did not charge it good enough. But I bet the Spencer Steer home run the other night. He hits a grand slam on Tipico. Good time to do another ad. Sorry about it. Got to pay the bills. Scan the QR code on your screen. Use code BIGPLAY100. Bet $25. Get $100 in bonus credits. Now, I got to tell you, 21 plus, Ohio resident only. Please gamble responsibly, because I don't want to catch any heat or anybody give me shit to say it's my fault. You don't know how to control your gambling. So look at that. We got ad reads knocked out already. So I don't know a ton about the Reds. I am a fan because I love Cincinnati sports. I'm a fan because I love to gamble. So I can't tell you what a curveball looks like on the TV or anything, but I can tell you it's super cool when Ellie hits bombs. People were ready to send Ellie to like the Dayton Dragons the other night. A couple errors in the game, and then
I was going to ask you about this
last night. Yeah, there was. I'm new to Reds Twitter, right? I've lived on Bengals Twitter the last few years, but Reds Twitter was turning on our guy, and I got the Ellie jersey. I think Ellie's super cool. I think he looks really cool. So I'm just like, hey, this is my guy. This guy's electric. But yeah, people were ready to like send him to prison.
Right. And look, is it fair to be disappointed when you're committing errors? Yes, I think so. Is it fair to sit there and say, well, go back to the minors, get off this field? I don't see how. I don't even know what scenario it would take. At that point, what were we? 5 games into the season when this started?
Yeah,
the chaos.
Yeah.
And what player, what scenario is it fair to even do that? Especially one that is athletically among the top, if not the top, speed top. Like what? This guy's a freakish 22-year-old athlete. What?
He's an alien.
It's wild to me that was even a thing. It's one thing to quickly overreact, I suppose, and then delete your tweet or something, but like it was a real narrative. It was a real thing that was being brought into existence by fans, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's like, come on. Matt McClain's already hurt, maybe for the whole year. They said they hope to have him back. We don't know if that means he's going to be back. It doesn't sound good. But yeah, I mean, the errors were bad. Right after one of the errors, Bryce Harper hit a grand slam. So they were down, I think, 3-1. And I'm like, okay, the Reds are down 2 runs. This is Rally Reds time. So I did a live bet Reds money line for like $20. And very, very quickly after that, it was like 8-1. So I lost that one. So I'm going to bounce back tomorrow, probably do an Ellie anytime home run at home against the Mets. The Mets stink. So I think Ellie's going to send one probably somewhere into right field tomorrow. So we gave away tickets. Shout out to Brad on Twitter. Transferred him to tickets today. We gave away 2 tickets to Friday night's game. It was supposed to be Fireworks Friday. The Ohio River is too high for them to set off fireworks from where they normally do. So they unfortunately had to cancel the fireworks. So I'm sorry that Brad doesn't get to catch Fireworks Friday, but he said it's going to be a date night with the wife. So we're going to give some more stuff away. I've been giving stuff away all the time just because for some reason a bunch of people follow me on the internet, and I like to try to give back because I get to do cool stuff because of that. So wife says you're welcome for the steer bet. She did kind of steer me in that direction. So I'll give her credit there. And now she's saying a Benson home run for tomorrow night. So we'll have to see how it goes. So go ahead.
You kind of have to. I mean, you're going to keep on that track, right? I mean,
she was right last time. So yeah, I feel like I got to do it again this time.
Yeah.
You guys hit Reds games at all?
Do I go to them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I dip in. No, I go several times a year minimum, especially now with two younger children. They love going to Reds games. It's a good environment. So yeah, of course.
Mine's almost 3, but I don't think she's ready for a Reds game yet. I'd just be chasing her all around Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, totally. I would say, especially when that heat kicks in middle of the summer, it can
Yeah.
be brutal, especially right there in that line. It's like the sun is just beating down on you. You're never going to be in those seats with, especially when they're really small. But yeah,
I'm just thinking me, you, Ron, James, big play Cincy night at the ballpark.
let's go.
Sounds like fun. They
Yeah,
sell garage beer at Great American Ballpark.
because of this potential hypothetical event, maybe. I think that's
Possibly.
why.
Maybe they knew that one day this could happen.
Right.
So they were like, we got to stock up in case these guys show. So
Oh,
we're dipping into Reds coverage here a little bit more, but this is has been primarily a Bengals show. We've got some Bengals stuff happening. So we've heard rumors and seen. It's weird how we're getting the reports of these top 30 visits or these pre-draft visits because they're coming from players' Instagram stories. So we saw that Amarius Mims was in Cincinnati. He posted a video right outside of the gate there of the stadium that kind of leads toward the bank. So we knew that Amarius Mims was in Cincinnati. We assumed it's for a pre-draft visit, and then it was confirmed. Obviously, the Trent Brown signing means they don't have to go tackle at 18, but then you look at Trent Brown's history of injuries and missing games. It's a 1-year deal. Maybe they are still going to take a look at a right tackle. So Amarius Mims is a guy. There's been some injury concerns, some concerns about the lack of snaps he played in college because he didn't start multiple years at Georgia. So you, in your pre-draft analysis, how do you feel about Mims?
about Mims, I mean, yeah, I think that's it. You're spot on. It comes down to the medicals. How's that going to look? And when that happens, I mean, that's arguably of the guys that'll certainly be there. Like Alt's not going to be there, obviously, but like Mims is probably that highest ceiling guy. So I understand why the Bengals are very interested in him. He is probably it feels to me like a Bengals pick if I think back on past drafts, which I know isn't always a good thing, but I just feel like something's going to hit eventually. Ellie De La Cruz is going to get that home run eventually. We're betting on that. I mean, I think, yeah, it almost feels like it would certainly happen. But at the same time, again, assuming medicals are fine, I also could see him being taken oddly early or fall for an unexplainable reason. He just feels like that kind of mercurial, player on the draft board in the first round specifically.
So when I think of Mims, the medical obviously is a big deal. It's a concern. He had some injury issues in college, got hurt at the combine, so didn't do position drills after running a 40, and then wasn't able to work at the pro day. That is a bit of a concern. I'm still kind of in the mode of thinking of we have this Super Bowl window. I'm in the mode of thinking T. Higgins is going to show up and play, and paying T. Higgins the franchise tag for 1 year is kind of an all-in move. So I'm saying you don't have to take that tackle at 18. But then the back of my mind, I'm like, Trent Brown has his own injury concerns. But I'm still in the camp of if Brock Bowers falls within striking distance, I'm doing whatever I can to get up to get him. This is a very big comment I do have to show. Mark Fetters is back. Mark Fetters was a loyal listener in the Blue Collar Bengals days. Haven't seen him since we made the transition, so I'm glad to see Mark here. Nate's here. We got the whole gang in the chat, so I'm glad to see you guys. But when I look at the draft board, I think Mims probably will be there. I just wonder, I mean, what are the Bengals going to do to fill that third wide receiver spot after they trade for Justin Jefferson, which is definitely 100% happening, right?
It's still being talked about, and rightfully so. I mean, yeah, no, I think I think they're going to dabble a bit more in free agency for veterans in general, and whether that's wide receiver or not, I think it probably will be. I'm not saying we should be hopeful that we'll find the answer in that, but just know that there'll be some bodies being added to the situation. But from a draft perspective, I mean, you talk about the window, right? Like round 2, incredible for wide receivers. I feel like they're, and as you go further, there are guys that you could get in the 3rd, 4th round that easily could be started. So, I mean, yeah, I would be very perplexed if not that you suggested this, but I would be very perplexed if they took one in the 1st round. I get best player available. but at the same time, it is a very real need that I feel like the glaring holes that are out there right now, or at least perceived glaring holes, is kind of it's overshadowing the wide receiver situation. And like you said, T for another year, possibly 2, and I don't know that they have that answer yet. I would love to see Josevach, Charlie Jones. I'd love to see everyone start to take that next step, but I'd operate as though that may not happen, just like anything else.
I cannot fathom a double franchise tag on T. Higgins. The guy's already posting Akon locked up on his Instagram stories. I don't want any part of that mess. I still hold out hope that they can. Though? I mean, the guy doesn't want to be on the tag. Yeah. I mean, you know who his agent is, the devil.
Doesn't want to be on the tag. Sure, he wants, for all accounts, like. He would love to stay on the Bengals, I'm sure, right? He just wants that commitment. He wants that long-term sense of, okay, any player would. And you want the bag, you want the guaranteed money, obviously. But if I'm T. Higgins, I'm probably, if my agent's not putting it in my ear, I'm probably putting it together myself. I'm probably thinking, look, I'm going to prepare mentally that I might be getting double tagged. I would be thinking that as just so I don't get caught off guard or disappointed. And it's still great money, don't get me wrong, but we see some of these wide receiver deals that are going on right now, and I don't blame him for going like, man, like I would love to take advantage of that now.
Calvin really just got $90 million after being average.
Right.
So
right.
I do you think there's any chance, and you talk to James a lot, James is in the building, James is official. Do you think there's any chance at all that T. Higgins sits this season?
No. And I think James has said as much, and things that he's even said too, from conversations he's had with T, like in the locker room, and having conversations with him. And he's talked about this before, but it's T Higgins. He recognizes, I think, what he deserves long-term, obviously, but at the same time, like, he loves being on the Bengals. Like, I think he just wants it all to work, and the writing's on the wall. I feel like we said with Mulligata, with the agent, that it's going to be tough. It's just two opposing. You've got a club and you've got Mulligata, and it's nobody's real fault. It's just the way they operate each side, and I think T recognizes that. But I also think there's some part. Let's call it a silver lining. Essentially getting more or less $50 million. Let's call it guaranteed for the next 2 years if you get double tagged. There are worse
no things. Matter what.
I mean, I understand wanting that long-term security. I totally do. But, there are worse positions to be in, I suppose.
Definitely. Ron has chimed in. He's watching from, I think, in Florida. Take off your shirts. Take off your shirts. I don't think we've had enough garage beer at that point, but you never know. These shows go a while. He must have, and he said he may be on leave, but he's still putting in work for viewership numbers. That's right. That's a champ. See?
Yeah,
drive the engagement, baby. And then there was another pre-draft visit from the trenches as well. This time on the defensive side, Tavondre Sweat out of Texas, who is a mammoth of a human being, had a visit, also first reported by his Instagram story. So I guess we need to just follow all the draft prospects and keep an eye at the top little circle bar on our Instagram app. He certainly would fill a need. Sheldon Rankins is a nice 3-tech. He's going to bring the interior pass rush that we've missed, I think, since Larry Ogunjobi left. But he's not necessarily the giant guy that plugs up the middle and eats up space to stop the run like DJ Reader did. But Tavondre Sweat very well could be. So he may even be in play at 18 if the Bengals are comfortable rocking out the year with Trent Brown.
Oh, they could easily take a chance on Sweat in the second round. You might need to trade up a bit in the second to get him, but I mean, if you're willing to play that game, but the reality is we've got 2 defensive tackles that can fulfill what they need. I think if either Byron Murphy, or if Johnny Newton, if either of them are there, there are very few scenarios where I think they wouldn't take one of them.
Johnny Newton, man. Johnny Newton, that one gets me excited. I think he's like Geno Atkins reincarnated, and I hate doing the player comp thing, but when I watch his tape and stuff, I'm like, man, that looks a lot like a Geno that's maybe a little bit more athletic. If you hear a child screaming in the background, I'm going to point out she is not being hurt. She is in the heart of her terrible twos, and it is bedtime.
Oh,
So my wife's up there handling that. Don't know if you can hear it or not, but I definitely can't.
it was
But
very
everybody in
faint.
the house is safe. It's faint, but you can hear it.
Yeah. Looking at some
So
of the
I
comments
trading
here.
up is a good concept though, because the Bengals have historically not done that. The Bengals have historically stayed pat. They've traded back, but they haven't necessarily been aggressive and traded up. And that's kind of the train that I've been on with this all in type feel that it seems like it has. If you're willing to give T Higgins the $20 million guaranteed or whatever the case may be. So if it feels like you're going all in, let's go all in a little bit and spare some draft capital to move up and grab a guy that you think can come in and make an impact this year. Or if you're looking at it from the lens of, okay, regardless of what happens with T, Burrow's got a big contract. Chase is getting ready to get a big contract. So do we need to get more premium talent that we have under rookie deal control for 4 years and make that happen in the second round and trade up? So that was a very, very loud scream. So you have to trade up a little bit to do that, but maybe they do and they sacrifice future draft capital and get a guy like, if you have to trade up to get a Sweat, or if you want to move up and get a Brock Bowers, that's something that I'm still on. If that's a possibility, you know, I think if he gets to the 14 range, you want to start getting on the phone. So I just want to see them double down on their all in feel that I'm getting from it, because the fact of the matter is everybody's mad because they haven't spent to the cap, I feel like, but I feel like they've gotten very good players on very good, valuable deals. And there wasn't really a guy out there that they should break the bank for and extend all the way to the cap to sign in free agency this year. So I don't think you can just go spend money for the sake of saying you spent money just to say, well, we spent to the cap. I think that the fact that they still have some cap space left over is probably tied to an extension that's probably going to be hopefully coming for Chase before the season starts. But you can't spend money just for the sake of spending money, but you can spend draft capital to go get these younger, cheaper guys to make an impact. There's my
Yeah,
rant.
you're there. A couple of things. I mean, one, when it comes to Jamar Chase, you know, hopefully they would get that done by camp. Realistically, I would hope they would absolutely get it done before the start of the season, because then they're going to be talking about it in 25, because that's just what they do. The Bengals I'm talking about, but it's Jamar's extension. It's McPherson. You gotta figure that out
McPherson's
too.
coming too.
I mean, it's not Jamar money, but it's, you know, it's all part of it, right? And the fact that they're going to still sign guys, and I know they're not going to be massive deals, but they very well could. We could find out about a free agent signing still this month, but they're going to fill out guys on the back end after they figure out what they get in this draft. They've done it in the past; they'll continue to do it. So it all adds up. But yeah, I mean, 20+ million or whatever in cap space that they have sitting there right now. People are asking questions. I understand, but I also think that, I don't know. Bengals are sometimes for better conservative in that we need to anticipate that we may need this for, especially Jamar. Because think about this: if they're waiting, or when I say they, Jamar, his camp, if they're waiting for Justin Jefferson to get his deal, that's the whole game. The market's going to be dictated by that. Now we're going to go higher, and Bengals are probably like, man, I'm not dropping, you know, another 10+ mil a year contract on somebody until I see where this goes.
Yeah, and that's I mean, Chase has literally said that. He was at his locker toward the end of last season, and I personally feel like he just got bombarded with like very inappropriate questions at that point. Not James, don't worry, about that. But he was pretty much like blatant with it. He's like, "Yeah, I want to see what Justin gets first." So like that's the name of the game. So maybe he wants to see what Justin's getting in Cincinnati first, because I mean, source right here, Matt Schultz, JJ's on the way. I mean, the source is right there in the comments section.
Don't clip this. Don't let, like, you big play. Nobody clip this part. I don't need this continuing, this madness.
I'm saying things that are like jokes, and then people are like, "This is never gonna happen." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I just cited my source as Antonio Brown. All right, we're just having fun on the internet here. Don't worry about it." T T. Brookie, the Bengals will not trade up in the first round. Do you remember Kajana Carter? That was the last time they traded up in the first and got burned.
No.
I've got a Kajana Carter jersey in the closet. But that was the last time that they traded up in the first, I believe.
That probably should have been your backdrop up until you got your banner.
The Kajana Carter jersey?
Yeah. That's like I've paid my dues. That's what that is. That's what that tells everybody.
Yeah. My first jersey was an Achilles Smith jersey.
Both of them. Get them both up there.
He told me to trust him. Trust me, bro. That's how you know it's real. But I could go on for that forever. I like to have fun on the internet. So looking at a couple of people that they visited with pre-draft, you've got Sweat, you've got Mims. There was also a visit. I didn't get a chance to make a graphic after I saw about it with Oregon State tackle. And I'm going to let you say his name because you sound better at it than me because I still don't really know.
Oh, we're talking
putting all the pressure on you.
Are we talking about Fuaga? Taliesa Fuaga.
It's Taliesa? I call him Tyrese Fugawa. I'm an idiot.
Kind of like Tyrese?
Poor Tyrese.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though. With these visits, right? So, yeah, it's notable. Sure. And it's, to a certain degree, inevitable. What I like to see is as it starts to add up and looking at the bigger picture, right? And what I'm seeing right now is trenches. Like those are the visit. Like, and not only that, but of course, naturally, specifically, tackles, offensive tackles that are coming in. So right now we've got what? 1, 2, 3. We already talked about Mims. Somebody needs to keep a running list of all these. Maybe I should be doing that. If we look at the people that have visited offensive tackle, that would be Mims. So is that 3 now? Are we at 3? I think we're at 3, unless I'm forgetting
3
somebody.
Confirmed is what I've seen.
Right.
3 confirmed visits, and they all have that trend.
Yeah. Fuaga, Fatanu, and Mims. Yep. So, but yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, right. You're seeing and look, these other guys, top 30s that maybe they could be seeing, they might feel pretty comfortable with them. This might just be like, look, if however this thing's going to fall, we got to make sure that we've done our due diligence, and this is the due diligence. But look who is walking in those doors. You start to see it stack. They're looking for a reason. Not looking for a reason. How do I want to put this? It's gonna. They are probably preparing for the idea of like, if we aren't going trenches, we'll know exactly why when that moment comes, the way it falls to us, because that's clearly where they're focused.
And I think that you can look at kind of the history of the Bengals and kind of see that in recent years. They drafted Dax Hill because they planned for the departure of Jesse Bates. Are they going to draft a guy like a Johnny Newton if he's there, or a Byron Murphy if he's there, as the DJ Reader replacement? Because it seems like they knew pretty early on that DJ Reader wasn't going to come back. He had some comments on Kay Adams' show where it says he didn't really hear from the Bengals until free agency started, even though he was there rehabbing and all that. So it seems like they were ready to move on. And that's a tough Band-Aid to rip off for a lot of fans, because Reader was a great run stuffer for us. He was a big culture guy. He had a very big part in making the Bengals the contender year in and year out that they've become since he came in 2020. But you also have to think about the fact that there were 3 things working against him with the Bengals extending him. They don't like third contracts. They don't like guys that are going to be 30 years old like he is at the beginning of July. And he's coming off a major injury. So that just kind of lined up for that to not work out. So maybe that is what they're thinking. Like, we're going to draft his replacement, whether that's round 1 or round 2. I don't know, but you have to hit on draft picks. The Bengals have had some issues. I'm not out on Dax Hill, Michigan man. I'm not out on Miles Murphy. He started to make more of an impact down the stretch, I feel like. But you're getting to the point where now these guys are going to have to get paid. You can miss on a Jackson Carman in the second round when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are on rookie deals. But you can't miss on draft picks when Burrow's getting a big check that he's getting now, when Chase is about to get a check that he's going to get now. If you work something out with Higgins somehow, some way, it's going to be a big chunk of money. You've paid Logan Wilson. You've paid Jermaine Pratt. You're creeping up on having to pay Cam Taylor-Britt. He was a second round pick, so there's no 5th-year option there. So they really you can't whiff anymore. And they've had some not so great ones. They've had some great ones and some not so great ones, since like the 2020 year. So you have to really do your due diligence. And I think that the more offensive tackle prospects come into Cincinnati for pre-draft visits, the better. You need to get to know Troy Washington. I'm bad with these names. I need to get Fatanu, that's easy. Troy Fatanu. I want to see these guys in for visits leading up to the draft. That way, at least at the end of the day, the Bengals have their history with drafting offensive linemen, and it hasn't been good since Andrew Whitworth. Let's just be honest. That's why they're signing these veteran Band-Aid deals to play right tackle. They're giving big money to Orlando Brown Jr. They're signing Ted Karras. They're signing Alex Kapp. They're like, hey, drafting these guys isn't working out. Let's go sign them. So if that's the process that they're taking, great. But if they're really thinking about drafting this guy, they've got to do their due diligence and get it right, because you don't want to get set back at the right tackle position again. We've had the Lyle Collins Band-Aid, the Riley Reif Band-Aid, the Jonah Williams for 1 year Band-Aid. Now we got Trent Brown, which looks like a Band-Aid. So, like, if you're going to go offensive tackle, I as a fan, I just want to at least know on draft night, if they call one of these guys at 18, I'm like, okay, I know that they did their due diligence. They met with all of them.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, right? Because when we talk about right tackles, offensive tackles in general, from a draft perspective, the situation they're in right now, especially with offensive tackle, is that the longer you wait, and I'm not saying they should be pressured to reach in the first round by any means, but the more your guys that you want are coming off the board. Round 2, round 3 for sure, 4 and on. Like, you might as well assume that you cannot go into camp, you cannot go into the season under the assumption that's going to be a starter. Now, is it somebody that could
Correct.
rotate in and out and slowly work their way into that under the Trent Brown? Sure. Ideally, you get someone versatile, someone that can take snaps at guard, because they could use just a little bit of boost as far as depth and somebody that can learn in that position. But in a perfect world, that would be great. But ultimately, yeah, I can't help but think at times, like, what if you are reinforcing sort of that guard position? You get someone that's versatile, can play either or in the event of an injury or so on and so forth, and you grab, maybe another veteran in free agency for right tackle. I'm not saying I want this, but I'm just trying to imagine worst case scenario here. Could you, in theory, then take that, say, 4th, maybe 5th round tackle, hope for the best, knowing that whatever happens in 2024 going into 2025, there's always another free agency, there's always another draft. Could you get through with that Band-Aid, so to speak, like you put it? Maybe. It's not the end of the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You've got that position locked in. I understand there's health concerns. And I just worry, though. Like, after that first round, and especially after second, it's all wild cards to me. I mean, and there's honestly some wild cards, really, to a certain degree, as you go later in the first. And nothing's a guarantee in the draft, obviously, and certainly not for the Bengals when it comes to the trenches and the draft and developing. But, yeah, you might be looking at a situation where it's Trent Brown or bust, man.
And they could do that. Kind of like Mark's just said in the chat, they could look at 18 and just strictly go best player available, because we've seen them sign these guys and say, that's our guy for this year. They didn't really have a contingency plan for Lyle Collins when he got hurt. They didn't really have a contingency plan for Riley Reif when he got hurt. That's how Isaiah Prince starts a Super Bowl. So, I mean, you end up with that video, man, just surfaces every now and then on Twitter of the Bengals starting offensive line in the Super Bowl announcing themselves. And I just think of the miracle that it took to even get in that spot. It's mind boggling. So I think that they could go best player available. Is that a Johnny Newton? Is it a Byron Murphy? Is it a Brock Bowers if he falls? And you can do that, but man, you're just really, really banking on Trent Brown, who, when he is good, he is good. He is very, very good. He's okay going out there one-on-one against a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett. He's done well against those guys. But is his back going to hold up for a whole year? And he's a gigantic human being, man. Like, when you're that big, sometimes things just hurt because you're carrying a lot of weight on joints and discs and all kinds of stuff that I'm not smart enough to really go into detail about. And you have to wonder, is it just Cody Ford? Is it just, hey, if he goes down, Cody Ford's our starting tackle? Love Cody Ford. Phenomenal TikTok follow, he and his girlfriend. But I have concerns if he has to start at right tackle for multiple games.
Multiple games. Let me ask you this. Let's say we get through 17 games. Brown, right tackle. Let's go. I'm kind of an over-under situation here. Let's go with 13 of those games Brown's playing. Gets nicked up. He doesn't play 4 of them, right?
Okay.
Right tackle. Forget draft for a moment. Cody Ford, Jackson Carman, just doing what they got to do there, right? Knowing that there's a good chance, very good chance, you got Brown for a potential postseason run in that scenario. Like, you good with that?
Yeah, I think I'm obviously going to hope that if he gets nicked up, it's against the Panthers that he has to miss or something like that. I don't want to go into a game against a TJ Watt or a Myles Garrett with Cody Ford at right tackle. But if I can get 13 games out of the guy and, maybe he does have to sit later in the season to get ready for a playoff run and the Bengals are in playoff contention, by some miracle, maybe have a spot sewn up with, 2-3 weeks left. Probably not that early, but I would be completely okay with that as, if he can get back for a playoff run and we can put our best 5 out there wild card weekend, or we get a first round bye divisional weekend. Hey, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right?
Nothing is anymore. We went to a Super Bowl. Nothing is anymore.
Yeah. So you look at the few games where the Bengals were healthy last year, they went and beat the hell out of the Niners and looked like the best team in football for a couple weeks. So you get this line right. Joe Burrow healthy, everybody else hopefully healthy, knock on wood. And you tell me Trent Brown might miss the last couple weeks of the year because he's a little bit dinged up and they want to make sure he's right for the playoffs. I'm all the way for it. If you can get me 13 games out of that guy playing at the level that he can play at, I can sleep well.
I'll leave you with this last scenario. Bengals make a deep run. We say AFC champ. No, let's go Super Bowl because it's easy to compare. Brown's not playing all of a sudden. Trent Brown's not in. Super Bowl, we're heading into Super Bowl. All those player intros, we're not laughing though, because in my opinion, even if you got Cody Ford, even if you got a Jackson Carman playing right tackle for the Super Bowl, that line is still better than what was going on in the Super Bowl that we just played in 2021.
It is it's impossible for it to be worse. I don't think that they could roll a worse start.
I'd still feel better because, especially if you look at the other position. Now I am bringing the draft in this because if you run into a situation where you're not reaching the guys that you wanted just didn't fall your way. Okay. What if you've got just some major disruptor on that defensive line? What if you've got, a solid, reliable nose tackle? What if you've got that secondary is already, looking pretty good. Linebackers, they're going to they'll be fine. Like, I'm just saying, like, that team in that scenario, that right tackle, I know I'm just singling it out, but feeling a lot better than I did against the Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that we talk about offensive line every offseason because it's been a hot button issue for all of Burrow's career, right? He gets hurt his rookie year because Michael Jordan was starting at, left guard, which was just probably criminal. And then 2021, he gets sacked 9 times in the divisional game in Tennessee. They still win. He gets sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase running wide open down the sideline. He needs another second before Aaron Donald hits him to potentially win a Super Bowl. And then last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, they go to the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. He's sacked 5 times. Cordell Volson has a bad game. We're talking offensive line that offseason. Now he gets hurt because Jadeveon Clowney lands on his wrist in Baltimore, and we're talking about the offensive line. But the defense was bad at pretty much every level last year. And they get Geno Stone. They bring back Von Bell. I expect more out of DJ Turner, Michigan man, next year. I expect Cam Taylor-Britt to be the same lockdown corner he's been when he's healthy. But you know what is going to help the secondary the most is an improved pass rush, because outside of Trey Hendrickson last year, it wasn't really great. But Sheldon Rankins is a guy that's going to come from the inside and get after the quarterback. We saw it. The guy comes into Cincinnati day after my birthday and just wrecks a game and we lose. So you can get a pass rush that helps your secondary too. And there's the whole narrative. The Bengals playoff runs were carried by their defense and their kicker, blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. They could win those games 3-0. Doesn't matter to me. So if they can get the defense fixed, that can hide a lot of deficiencies from your offense too, because last year the Bengals were playing from behind, or they're in shootouts, or they're at a point where they can't put a team away because the defense couldn't put their foot on the throat, so to speak, and close it out. So there's definitely more improvement to be on that side of the ball. I just think we're a team with Joe Burrow at quarterback, Jamar Chase at wide receiver, so we want to talk about the offensive line. But I'm with you too. If they can get a disruptor, look at the last 3 Super Bowl winners. You got Aaron Donald and then Chris Jones, and back-to-back. Those are interior disruptors that make big plays in those games. And if the Bengals can find one of those, they can maybe make up for the fact that Burrow gets sacked 4 or 5 times, because Burrow's already going to take more sacks than the average quarterback anyway, just with how he plays the game. So I think you're absolutely right. It can be can your defense being better hide a deficiency if you do have to start Cody Ford in the Super Bowl? And if you do have to start Cody Ford in the Super Bowl, you're going to get such elite TikTok content out of him and his girlfriend.
Right on the money.
Come on.
I was going to say the same thing. It was already flashing in my head like, wow, oh man. Oh, I'm not going to speak into existence now, but yeah, you're right.
It is in New Orleans. It is in New Orleans.
That's a much easier trip than the last couple of years. If the opportunity
did you go?
presents itself, I did not. No, we talked about, when I say we, like James obviously goes and covers it, and there was a point. It was when they went and played. Of course, the following year they played Chiefs. They ended up losing the AFC Championship game. But there was a point, it was Arizona, right? And we were kind of talking through it, and I was like, Am I going down there to like cover it for the week? Are we really going to do this? And we were kind of figuring out the logistics, and I'm like talking with like my work, my day job, like, am I take PTO? Like, what am I going to do? And, then it didn't end up being a decision, but like, I remember the heavy part of it being like, just the time change, the length of the flight itself. It's not like it's a quick, I could just go out there for a day or two and it just be that simple for me. So I wanted to stay out there more extended period. New Orleans, I feel like that's just, I know it's not a short trip by any means, but I don't know. We're not dealing with like as much jet lag.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have to deal with the fact that if you go, like, the city of New Orleans is filthy. That place is a dump.
I've never been,
but I haven't either. But like, I've just seen things. I don't have any interest
TikToks,
to go.
if they've taught me anything, I know. No,
that's right. I mean, the only reason I would go to New Orleans would be to go to the Super Bowl. I looked at going in 2021, and then I saw ticket prices, and I was like, you know what? I could watch this at home with my family. I rented out like half of a bar. My daughter was like 7 months old and she was in a bar, but it wasn't like the bar part. It was like a big room part. So it was cool. Don't judge me. So I got family in New Orleans. I got a free place to stay in New Orleans. I got an uncle that lives down there. So we may have to do that. And I'm just saying, Burrow, Chase, New Orleans, Jefferson. It's the last time I'll do it. I like to get the people going. I mean, look, they're right here.
If Bengals, let me ask you, if Bengals make Super Bowl this year, they go to New Orleans. Challenge, will you house a Skyline Coney with cheese on it? Like, will you do it?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just trying to understand I'm trying to understand and gauge the thresholds here.
Do they go or do they win?
They go.
All right. So go. I will eat the Skyline Coney with cheese on it.
Okay.
To guarantee that they win, I will do something that is just completely disgusting, gross, and wrong on every level to me, and promise I'm not going to say anything that's going to get anybody canceled. I would eat a Coney with cheese and mustard on it, and I have a phobia of mustard. It freaks me out. I had a former employer who found that out, and the owner, it was a small company, lined my desk with mustard, like squeezed it around the perimeter of my desk. And I was like, dude, I don't care if you own this place or not. Like, you're gonna wipe that up or I'm going home. You can fire me today. I hate mustard that much. But to guarantee a win, they can put extra mustard on it.
Okay. When's the last time you tried mustard?
I couldn't. I had to have been a child. I couldn't. It's definitely hasn't been in my teenage or adult life.
Are there a lot of things that you haven't tried since you were a kid that you just are convinced you wouldn't do now?
The word mustard, I think, is foul.
Interesting.
The look of it is foul. The texture of it is
Any
foul.
mustard, yellow mustard, Dijon. What are we saying?
Anything with the word mustard in it. If it says mustard seed, I'm out.
Uh-huh.
It's mustard is not allowed in my house.
Michigan
Luckily,
yellow is it kind of a mustard color, isn't it?
That's maize. That's like the color of corn.
Okay, I'm sorry. I see. I mean, yeah. I edit a lot of videos. I should know better about hues and whatnot. Color correction.
Got a comment that I think is a good one from Facebook from Josh Cantrell. He says he feels like they did a great job with Collins before his injury, giving him virtually every practice to rest and rehab. And that's true. Lyle Collins didn't practice a lot. Maybe they follow that kind of model with Brown. If he's feeling a little bit of tightness in his back, hey, man, just take the day off. You're a vet. Do you know the playbook? And he's out there to protect the right side. So maybe they do follow that model because Collins had a good year until he blew his knee out against the Patriots on Christmas Eve that year. So they managed his back issue pretty well. So maybe they could do something like that with a Trent Brown and keep him healthy because, I mean, Collins started every game, I believe, before he got hurt that year. So that's possible too. And you're looking at teams like that. That year was a 10-game win streak. The Bengals won 10 football games in a row because they got decent offensive line play. So
yeah, I mean, and by the way, Zach Taylor, that's kind of his marker, right? Like he's very into the whole don't rush back. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I feel like maybe that gets him into trouble at a number of different levels, but nonetheless, it's kind of his philosophy of way of doing things for better or worse. But like you got someone like Burrow probably could rest more, but if he's reaching bare minimum, whatever medicals say, Burrow is going to be fighting and like, I'm coming back. I don't care. Even though Taylor's probably like, well, we could wait. So
yeah, but he's probably like the one of a couple guys in the locker room that can pull that card.
Of course.
Like, no, I'm like, I don't know this for a fact, but there had to have been something in Taylor's mind at the beginning of last season. Like, man, this guy can hardly move. I could sit him, and we didn't know what we had in Jake Browning at that point. Looking back at it now, hindsight's 2020. I would have took the first 4 weeks of the year with Jake Browning. But you can be who you can afford to be in situations like that, right? Burrow can be like, no, dude, like I'm going out there week 1 in Cleveland. I don't care if it's a monsoon and Myles Garrett's looking at me.
Right. No, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go on New Heights and talk to Travis Kelce. Like I'm just do whatever I want. I'm Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I saw that today. So he's going to be in Cincinnati live at the New Heights podcast. I have never watched an episode of the New Heights podcast. I see clips on the internet, but I've never watched a full episode. But I'm pretty excited for that one just because it's Joe Burrow. He doesn't do that a lot.
He doesn't. I was debating about this, like text messaging and things like that. But like, what do you think? Do you think Burrow is getting paid to make that appearance, or is he doing it just because he likes the show? Because he's done that before. It's like, just watch an episode seemed interesting. I had nothing going on that day. I'm going to go check it out, and I'm going to go on and talk.
Yeah, he went on with the Nelk Boys.
Yeah,
that one year, which was a pretty entertaining one. But I don't know. I think they have a good relationship with each other, like he and Travis Kelce. I think after they played last year, Kelce was telling him to heal up. The league's better when he's there. So I think, even though there's the Bengals-Chiefs rivalry, I think that they have a good amount of respect for it. But I could also see them just being like, hey, man, like $500,000, get it done? Because like they could pay whatever. I mean, Aaron Rodgers gets paid $1 million a year to go on TV shows.
And Burrow doesn't strike me as the type that would sit there and go, well, I need this amount of money to be able to do it because of whatever, like even for like a charity or otherwise. Like, I feel like he's more of the type of like, I need it to set, for the optics. Like, I don't want just anybody to ask me to come on their show. Like, I don't, maybe, but I don't think he cares.
Yeah. I haven't reached out to him about ours yet. I'm sure he watches it. So I'm sure he'll probably come on
proper channels. He'll get the message.
There's definitely no unread DM requests or anything from me to him wishing him good luck or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe that is it. Maybe it's just like, hey man, I can't have just anybody asking me to do this, so I don't do it. But Maybe it's because the New Heights podcast is like the top sports podcast in the world or something right now. Like maybe he thinks it's good to get out there, and I just want him to walk out and just like chuck a football. You know what I mean? Like, well, just because the wrist.
When you mean he enters this, like he walks on stage, like that walk.
Yeah, walks.
Yeah.
At Nippert Stadium, right?
Right. That's right. It's in the same, which is weird because that's okay. But yeah, go on. Yeah. So
he just walks out and just launches one, and we can see that it goes like 50 yards. And I'm like, okay, his wrist is fine. Because there was that whole big dust up of like who he shook hands with at that UFC fight. And I'm like, you guys can argue about that. But did you see that handshake with his right hand? That looks strong.
What if he just like walked out and chucked it and then just walked off the stage? No one ever said he was being interviewed. He's just making an appearance. Like that.
Comes out and launches one.
Yeah. Like anyone interested in his thoughts would be disappointed, but in a weird way, I would be very satisfied by that. Like we've been waiting to see this, and this is how he did it.
Just launches a thing. That'd be sweet too. I'm going to try to go through and get some comments up here. I haven't been doing a good job getting the comments up today.
Yeah.
But we're running the show from my house, so I'm trying to see as many as I can here.
Update everyone on where Ron is. I feel like we just need a refresh on that.
Cincy Jake asked where Ron is. I believe he's at Disney. If
he's in California, so is it Disneyland or
is it California?
I thought
it was Florida. Ron, are you still there? Please tell us where you are. We didn't have like I guess like, I talked to him like every day, but he was like, hey man, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to Disney. So I just assumed Florida Disney.
We'll get Chad Johnson to give us his flight number and then we'll figure it out. So when Ocho sends him that money, do you think he's like, hey man, just one more favor. Like, what are you doing next Thursday at 8? You got to shoot your shot. If he didn't, you're gonna have that conversation with him.
I'd be like, look, dude, I'll send 300 of it back if you just got like 15 minutes for me next week.
I say that though, but it's not like I did the same. Like James and I met with Chad at an event, and this was not that long ago. What was it? January, and it crossed my mind, but I was like, what am I doing?
I do that too, man. We were at St. Taddy's Day, and like, I get a chance to like talk to Brad Robbins and hang out with him for a while, and I got a chance to talk to Trey Hendrickson, got a chance to talk to Zach Taylors of the world are all there, and I'm like, man, I don't want to ask you for a picture. I don't want to like. I really went up to Trey Hendrickson. I was like, look, dude, I don't want a picture or anything. I just want to tell you that I effing love you. And he was like, let's fucking go. I'm like, see, my day's made. Because it is weird to get out there. Like, I don't want to bother these dudes, man. Like, it is a weird feeling. But it was very cool to see that Zach Taylor signed a Garage Beer shirt with me on it. So he at least knows I exist now.
Yeah, I like that. I would say, real talk. This will be an exclusive for your show of talking about like perspective. Like, I feel like that's the weird place that I've been in really ever since starting the Cincinnati Bengals Talk channel, because I'm not media credentialed. I mean, sure, there are certain times where I'd get, a day pass or whatever to get into something to help with things as like classified as video or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan like most people, cutting up videos in my basement, doing my thing, helping produce content or whatever. And I think it's a weird spot to be in, because there's that, but I'm kind of in a way, I feel like as far as conduct, held to the same standard as like a James Rapine. So it's like, I can't like go and be like, hey, will you sign this? Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to jeopardize anything, because I have to really almost act as his surrogate in those scenarios. I don't begrudge him of that. I understand it. It is what it is, but it is difficult at times, because like there's a certain element too where like it's not really for me. It's not like I'm turning around, I'm like, hey, I want to put this up on my shelf, which also would be cool, but like it's not like I'm turning around and saying anything, but it's just to be hero dad. You know what I mean? Like you want to like, and I think I know players that I've interacted with would totally understand, but I also just kind of know my limits, and I'm just like, I don't want to cross that path right now.
That's kind of what I do too. Because it's like, man, I want to keep getting invited to stuff like this too. Like I tell people all the time, like the stuff that I get to do as a result of being an idiot on the internet is hilarious. Like it's dumb that like everybody's like, oh, St. Taddy's Day. This is like because Drew's tweet like this. That's wild to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, this is crazy. So I don't want to jeopardize any of that. I've been to every home game the last 2 years through brand deals. And I always tell people that's why I give away jerseys. I give away baseball tickets. I give away stuff that I can out of my own pocket within reason, just because the reason I get to do anything cool is because people choose to click follow on my name on the internet. So like, I don't want to jeopardize any of that. So I'm just like, hey man, don't want a picture. Just want to tell you, I love you. Stuff like that. I'm like, I know that I did it. I get to remember it. But 100%. There's also like, could I possibly ever be in the presence of Joe Burrow and not freak out? I don't know. Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there. If I ever get to be in the same room as that guy, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there would be, I think Ted Karras, he put it perfectly. Like when we asked him back in August during camp of last year, we went out and filmed a thing with him at the stadium and in the locker room. And he said, yeah, hanging out with Burrow is always a good time. James was like, you hang out, like asking Ted Karras, do you just like hang out at your place or like backyard barbecue? He's like, yeah. He's like, I can't take him to like MLTs. He's like, people would like, he basically like, people would just be like collapsing. Like if that happened, they would just be screaming. And like, he was flat out like, yeah, that's just the life, right? He can't, even someone like Ted Karras who can get away with that. Like he knows when he's got certain people like Joe Burrow in his presence, he can't go anywhere. So
yeah, he can't just pop into Jeff Ruby. I mean, I know that they go to Jeff Ruby's. I'm sure they got like a back door or something, but like, that's why I think Burrow did an interview somewhere where somebody asked him like his favorite food in Cincinnati. He's like, yeah, I pretty much just get carry out. Like, where's this guy going to go sit down and eat in Cincinnati?
A lot of players do that for sure. Not only that, speaking of that, I didn't want to like draw attention to it because I don't want to give it too much. Like I thought about just like showing you the clip at some point, but I didn't because I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but it was entertaining. On Reddit, I don't know if you saw it. Maybe it made its rounds on social. Somebody posted a video of someone that like, I think they were like in a bus and they saw Burrow driving by like in his Porsche and they got it just vertical for like good 10 seconds. And they were screaming out the window to Joe, just trying to drive down. It was probably like a 45-mile-an-hour road or something like that. And they were flipping out from him just driving by, which by the way, why Burrow doesn't have tinted windows blows my mind. But,
I saw that video.
Okay, you did? I didn't know if it made its rounds on social, but
I saw it hit Twitter. I'm not a Reddit guy at all. I don't even know how to operate Reddit.
Okay.
But I did see that. Yeah, dude, these people are just losing. He's just driving. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, dude, you can get a legal tint. If you get pulled over, just roll it down and you'll be all right.
Right. Or get an illegal tint and make sure that when the officer pulls you over, as soon as you roll that window down, I think you'll be okay. And if you're not, whatever.
He's not, you can pay the $150 ticket. He's not going to get it.
That traffic violation isn't going to make the news. Like,
it is very cool to be an idiot on the internet, a regular fan, all that stuff, and get to do cool stuff like that. Like, it really is. But I try my best to show appreciation and not get too big of a head over it, even though I will. I like to battle with trolls. So I like to act like a professional person in the settings of the events, but like on the internet, same old me. Don't come at me. I get called fat so much with these people with pictures where it's like, it's just so much easier to make fun of you than it is me. And now I have to do it. Football though. One more question before we get out of here. We're about to hit the hour mark. Another good comment from Josh. Have the Texans jumped the Chiefs as the Bengals threat in the AFC after the Diggs trade, plus all their returning players and additions? I do not think so.
No.
I think you could say
that eventually. Yeah, I think they're trending maybe in that direction, but they're not the rivalry that the Chiefs are.
I still think the Chiefs are the biggest threat because they have Patrick Mahomes and they are the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you want to say, are the Chiefs maybe the next biggest threat? You could maybe entertain that. But when I've seen that already, I'm just like, man, right now I'm still like, their division is so good. Cleveland won 11 games with all these guys on IR last year. Baltimore won the division last year. Pittsburgh was a playoff team with Kenny Pickett starting football games.
The Browns were a playoff team. Joe Flacco.
Yeah, the Browns were a playoff team despite all of those injuries, and the Bengals have the Browns hump that they still haven't really been able to get over. So it's like the biggest threat if you get into the playoffs is either another one of your teams from the division that make it or Kansas City. But I do think that Houston is getting there, but I think that we still may be a year early on the Texans. And that could just be me being a doubter. Is there going to be a sophomore slump from Stroud? But I feel like they're about a year away.
You might be right, which oddly enough, because Diggs was called out specifically, very well will not be on the team after that year. So what are you going to do? I think could the Texans be that team that works their way into the playoffs and just disrupts things, upsets people, maybe doesn't make a complete run? But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say no. I mean, I think they've got the pieces coming together, sure. But no, I don't look at them as that AFC team that you're going to have to overcome. If anything, like, of course, the Chiefs and the Bills, the Bengals, the AFC North in general, like those are the hurdles that a team like the Texans are trying. Like they need to overcome that and prove to me that that's when I know they're there. And until then, I'm never going to say that they're the team that's going to be that rivalry, that force.
But on the other hand, you could also tell me that this year's Texans are going to be the 2021 Bengals, and it wouldn't shock me or blow me away by any means.
No.
Like, oh, I could see that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
But
I think people have much lower expectations for the Bengals than they do the Texans right now. Everyone's excited about the Texans right now.
But, and like, Diggs, he doesn't move the needle a ton for me. No. I think he's not the best receiver on that team. He's not better than Nico Collins, Michigan man. But if you haven't noticed, I say that after every person that went to Michigan, go blue. But I think Nico Collins is probably a better receiver than Diggs at this point. I think Diggs has kind of fallen off a little bit. Maybe it was just because he was unhappy in Buffalo, but he seems like the kind of guy where you got to make sure you're keeping him happy in Houston too. So like, how's that going to go? And it's weird that they gave up a second rounder to get him and then wiped out the rest of his contract. So he's a free agent after this year. Is that just to protect themselves in case he does become a problem?
I'm still trying to understand that whole scenario because I caught up to that late today and I was like trying to wrap my head around it. It was almost like me trying to understand the logic behind that was like me trying to understand like the hip drop tackle. Like I was sitting there like dissecting it. Like what am I reading?
Don't get me started.
What am I saying? What am I seeing with this? Like, I can't interpret this the way I feel like I should be. Like at some point I'm like, I don't know why that move was made. And so I haven't even settled down from it, but I agree. Diggs, maybe not so much move the needle, but you bring up Nico Collins. I think if I was a betting man, Tipico, we see you. I would say that someone like Diggs being on that roster might elevate Nico Collins. So there may be some benefit there.
Yeah, I think that it definitely will, because whether Diggs is what he was 4 or 5 years ago doesn't matter as much because he doesn't have to be the number one, but you still have to account for and respect Stephon Diggs. So it is definitely going to open things up for Nico Collins or a Tank Dell who's going to come back healthy and work the middle.
For sure.
Oh, wow.
Here. You see that one?
This is a good one. First off, shout out Casey McAllister. Oh, wait, Josh, you're up next. Shout out Casey McAllister, producer at Chatterbox Sports. These guys got some really cool stuff going on. They're on Dayton Radio now. Yeah. Shout out to them. Great daily sports content. I like to watch and say stupid stuff in their chat.
I follow them.
Yeah, but Josh, one last question for fun. Looking back at the Chase draft, going back, would you rather have Chase and Carmen or Sewell and St. Brown? That is a good one. I was a Penny Sewell guy that year. Penny Sewell.
I wasn't. I was, but I wasn't. You know what I mean?
And I was never happier in my life to be wrong when Jamar Chase came in week 1 and caught that 50-yard touchdown from Burrow. But man, Sewell has been just as good at his position as Chase has been at his. That's a good one. But I just because I've seen and experienced and lived through the Jamar Chase era now, I think I have to ride with Uno no matter what.
See, I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's probably what like. That's the heart, right? Like that's what my heart's telling me. Objectively, like if I'm like, hey, it's like building a fantasy football team. I'm looking at it and I'm like, these two scenarios fell to me in this draft. Like, I think I got to go that route, right? Like objectively, okay, sure. But then you're also taking out an element. I know I'm maybe even is a stretch, but there's some intangible thing about the whole Burrow and Chase. Like you can't.
Yeah,
that's
it's just there.
Right.
But we also have to look at the fact that like Jackson Carman was just a terrible pick there. Like it just they could have had like a Creed Humphrey in that spot. They actually traded back in it, so that's a whole thing. But I think that maybe it's because I'm wearing the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stepbrother shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my heart and I'm a homer, but like just the Burrow to Chase connection has just been there from the instant. So I can't say if you gave me a button to go back and turn back time now, I don't think I would have made a different call in the first. I would have made a much different call in the second round.
Yeah, that's a vibe. That shirt's going to do that to you. I understand totally. And look, maybe there is no winner that can answer that question, but Josh, you're the winner because that was an excellent question. There you go.
That was, and it's shocking because he's not the smartest guy I know.
Oh, you don't say. I didn't know we had knowledge of this. Okay.
No, yeah, I know Josh in real life. Josh is a great dude.
I'm looking forward to seeing what questions he'll ever bring back now. Like, it doesn't have to be tonight. I'm just saying future. Like I want, like, what if that was it? You know what I mean? Like, what, like he's got a notebook of questions. And then, like, he just thought he was about to throw that one away. And he was like, I'll ask this one. They're about to end anyway. Probably wouldn't even have time. And then that was it.
He's a ball knower. So he's probably got some good ones in the chamber.
Okay, you were downplaying him.
Well, you know, he's a friend of mine, so I gotta rib him a little.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right.
Yeah. So I appreciate you filling in for Ron this episode, man. I really, really do. Just one more quick shout out to the people that sponsor our show. I will be betting Ellie De La Cruz home run tomorrow on Tipico Sportsbook. I'm going to give you a second. Scan the QR code. If you're a new user, bet $25, get up to $100 in bet credits. And they have the cash back. I don't know if people heard about that. You get cash back on your average wager that you can then rebet. So it's kind of like free money for betting that you're going to do anyway. So big shout out to them. And then I'm going to give a big shout out as I finish off this episode's Garage Beer.
I got empties. Oh.
I like to smash them off my head when I'm done. And then I have to like clean it up off the floor or whatever's left when I get up because I am a father of a toddler. My grandmother told me that I should stop drinking beer. She watches the show from time to time. She says I should pour water in them. That way I can still shout out my sponsor. But I got to live it how I live it. Yeah. I got to stay true to it.
Be authentic. Beer. Come on.
Love Garage Beer. Colton's here. Hey, sorry you caught us at the end, but you can watch back. Colton is a chatterbox nut cutter, as they call them in the chat. So a lot of those guys bleed over to us. So we appreciate there's room for everybody to eat out here. We love everybody. One more time, make sure if you're not following Andrew on social media, please make sure that you do. It is right there at Andrew Fox Miller. Great Twitter follow. Check out Enter the Jungle on the Big Play Network. Their YouTube is CIN Bengals Talk. Is that correct? That's the Twitter.
For the show, for the channel, the show. Yeah, CIN Bengals Talk. Myself, that's a representation for our channel. Myself, James Rapine. And it's a 2-man operation for 3+ years. It's crazy. But yeah, absolutely. Check us out if you haven't. Social, I'm cooking up something right now, actually. We'll see. I'm doing some interesting video stuff that I'm gonna throw out there, maybe exclusive to social. So I'm having a fun time this off season, just kind of stretching because I don't have to sit there and cut up news conferences and be able to hear the questions that are being asked by people out in the media.
We got to work on that. We got to get some mics.
You should see what I got going on, man. I'm talking about balancing audio levels, throwing AI into the mix. I'm doing everything I can here to work with what I got. And
are you about to save press conferences for everybody that watches them on Twitter?
Oh, not on Twitter. Like they're on Cincinnati Bengals Talk on our channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have the goods.
We've had it. James films it on his phone, and Mike's up at the podium. But yeah, I mix that stuff up on the back end.
See, that's where you go for the good content. Because, dude, I watch him on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if that answer was good or not because I have no idea what James just asked him.
Right. Yeah.
Keep it coming, man. You guys are pioneers in the Bengals YouTube game. I feel like I've learned a lot from you guys over time. Appreciate you guys always being cool to talk to us and give us pointers and everything like that. So
good to be on here, man. Appreciate it anytime, and I'll try to fly out for a family vacation, see if Chad will pay for some things for me too. Now that
you have to get a $700 stroller destroyed by Spirit Airlines,
right?
So,
I'm gonna inflation. It'll be higher.
It's got to be the Wonderfold wagon because I got one, and it was like $600. The wagon that breaks down, with the shade on it.
Oh yeah,
we take that thing to Kings Island, dude. My kid just stands in the front of it like she is like coming in like she's a queen or something. She just stands there and just watches everything as we push her around and do whatever she tells us to. So, dude,
Yeah.
just oh my god. I'm like, can we please go to the water park?
Right.
And now she's gonna be tall enough to ride like all the Kittyland rides this year. She missed a little bit last year. I almost got in an altercation with some little nerdy dude because she was off by like that much. I'm like, dude, I'm her father. I'm gonna hold her. It's fine. He was like, not today, you're not. All right,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
chill out.
Hey,
But
That
before I
guy-
go off the rails and say something that I shouldn't about probably a 17-year-old that works at an amusement park,
that guy's
I'm
not
gonna
running
go
Spirit
ahead.
Airlines luggage, by the way. Now, I bet you he's doing bigger things and getting it done right though. He's checking the boxes. Just saying,
Possibly,
quality
maybe
control.
he could save the situation with
He
Spirit.
could.
See, man, that's why I like you. You got a big brain. Things like that click with you very quickly.
Yep.
We had a comment. I don't know if I put it on the screen, but I don't know if I said it. But Wedge Gordon with another shout out. The best camera setup in the game, Andrew Fox Miller. That's you.
Geez. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna get on your level one day. I don't know if I need the cam link. I don't know what kind of lights I need.
We start
but
with
I'm
the
gonna do it.
lights. We get that
We'll figure it
backdrop a
out.
little bit further back. I know you're cramped up against the wall, but we can make it work. You got.
Well,
it's all
here's
about
why I
depth of
have to do
field.
that. The wall
I know.
beside this is like an ugly gray color. I bought this house a couple years ago. I still
The
haven't painted
banner's
the wall.
fine. You just got to be further from it.
Ah, okay. But if I move the
I think
camera
it's closer
too far,
to
you're
the
going to see
camera.
shitty wall.
I mean, we could could the camera move further away and you move with it is what I'm saying. Like this. Like I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go forward. Like, can you move it all?
I'm going to paint this wall black, and then I think it'll be easier to
That's
do
not gonna help things.
Well, but if I move the camera back, you're going to see shitty gray wall. We can do it live. Whatever. Watch this.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go. Watch
So
you
now-
reveal it, and it's just like this whole time it was all up front, and you've just got clearly the remnants of cheese conies with cheese on it, and you were just trying to be weird and get attention. Okay, we're moving back. This is.
Wait, is that good?
I don't know. I don't know where you are in the fold here yet. Well, see now. See, here's the thing. That's mugshot, right? You're up against the wall. You're doing. That's.
So
you
I gotta be away from it.
Yeah,
but-
get it focused on you.
So on this layout, it may work to go further back. But then if I go solo layout where I'm
I
big on the
understand that,
screen, you're
yeah.
going to see shitty gray paint. So I still
Right.
think I got to paint the wall black. That way I just have more
do that. That's
to
fine.
work with.
Darth Bengal, he knows how to do a paint job. He showed me. He's got it. He's got the stripes up
Paint
on
the
his
wall
setup
orange
on
with
his
black
wall.
stripe. If I thought I have no artistic bones in my body, dude. I am terrible. If I thought I could paint this wall with Bengal stripes, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I think that it would be a complete disaster if I tried to do that.
I got an
I
idea.
think it would be a
So on that
travesty.
right and left side, you could just, you just hang this up right on the right and left side. Does that work?
Hey, that's a good idea. I have a garage beer flag that they sent me that I could hang up too. I don't
Just
mind
stack
supporting
cases,
the guys,
man.
but also above me, I have it's up here. I mounted it too high because when I bought this house, I didn't know I was going to do this. I've got framed Icky Woods jersey, framed Munoz jersey, Joe Burrow athlete deck skateboard, framed Chad Johnson jersey, signed T Higgins helmet. I've got all my cool backdrop stuff way too tall, so I need to bring it down.
Yeah.
But if I bring it down, toddler destroys things.
Couple.
It's a real
couple
predicament.
cheap
I got
shelves,
going
just
over
run
here.
it. What? Yeah, it's pretty. You can get a curtain for almost next to nothing to run either side. It's doable. You should see the stuff that I shoestring together over time. I've got a fake brick wall thing that's been hanging in my basement. I haven't used it in probably 2 years. Like just little things. Like I go on Amazon and spend $20 here and there and just kind of make it work. This was just
I've got a
building things over
backdrop.
time.
Dude, you've inspired me. I'm gonna get home improvement / like redneck ingenuity going on around here because I come from a long line of that, so I can figure it out. So thank you. You've inspired me. I'm gonna figure something out. I'm gonna have a better backdrop next
That's
time.
probably 4 feet behind me, maybe 5. So
Okay. All right. You know what? This is why we asked you to come on here because
Exactly.
you're smart.
I thought it was
You
going
know
to be
this
this for an hour, to be honest. And then I was
I
like, well, you're asking me about
I
the
thought
Bengals?
this was good, but you're like, no, you got to be further away from backdrop.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to be the focal point, and you also want light behind you. I know we'll get there. I don't.
How do I
wanna
get light
complicate things.
behind me without you
That's
seeing light?
that's what I mean. You could get like a little it's so you get like a little ring light, throw that thing right behind you, and just give a little bit of backdrop to behind you. and then you can, oh man, things could happen. I don't care if it spills behind you. It doesn't have to be an actual light, but we'll get there. Well, let's start with getting you a little further away from the wall and looking like, help camera focus. Okay. Oh, I'm reading the comments as I'm backdrop being further away will help the camera focus on you only. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Especially if you've got any kind of camera lens that's going to have to fight to be able to find that focal point. This camera is does a damn good job of finding me.
Your camera's crazy. Mine was like $500. It's a Sony ZV-1F, and I don't know how to use it.
I just plug it prior, and it the lighting made a big difference. The distance and the lighting.
I need to figure out what kind of lights I get, because maybe these aren't it.
What do you got?
Let me turn it off so you can kind of maybe see what it is. It's one of those.
I mean, they're good to start. I think you'll be okay there. I mean, I've worked with some lesser stuff. I mean, I'm working right now with I think I've got a Black Friday deal on Amazon, some 600 some LED lights that were, I think I bought a 2-pack for like under $100 still. It was close to it. But some soft.
Blow me up with Amazon links. I'll buy it all. I just got my tax return.
At one point, I was running lights, and I didn't want to pay for the soft boxes to go around it to soften the light, like the sheer covering to put over the light so they weren't so harsh. I was putting Kroger bags over it to soften. Like I've gone through every iteration of just working my way up to figure it out. So
I don't have any Kroger bags around. I was going to try it. I won't keep you on here with my tech issues all night. I'm going to play around with stuff. I may DM you and bother you with questions, but I'm going to let you get out of here. We love the chat for tuning in with us. Thank you guys all. We'll be back next week with more of a probably buttoned up episode. We're probably going to start diving more into draft content as we get to about 2 weeks away. Don't know what our plans are for a draft. There have been a couple things that have been tossed around. Ron and I have to figure out exactly what those are going to be. And maybe next week, with Andrew's advice, I will have a much better presentation for you guys and look cooler next week. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Big Play Cincy.